Hey, it's Cody. I thought today we would talk a little bit about the Weaver's Oracle. So I guess this is my deck review. This deck feels like a lot to me. Like it feels like so much. I've been using it. I think it's been 3 years now. Drawing a card at least every new moon, and some full moons. Somehow I just feel like I don't know it that well or something. It's kind of one of those unknowable decks. Do you ever run into those where it's kind of the kind of thing where you don't feel like you're ever going to fully be able to grasp? I don't know. That's what I love about it, but that's also what has taken me so long to even do a review or try and gather thoughts for this. This is probably going to be a rambly, unfocused review. I'm just like that anyway, and then this deck is just it's a lot to talk about. So, I'm trying to this is my third time trying to record this because I just got way out there. I was like, damn, I gotta start this over. Okay, so this is an independently published deck. This is the Weaver's Oracle, Journey Cards, and Travel Guide. This deck was created from Paintings and Mythic Tales by Carolyn Hillier. So it comes in this big ass box. The deck is in this. I still have all the other shit in here and the guidebook, which we will actually talk about. Oh, you know what? Let me grab this real quick, though. I do need to talk about this. Okay. Oh my god, sorry. We'll talk about all this shit later. Well, let's get into the cards first. Okay, so it came in this bag, like a little drawstring bag that just has like one thingy on it. Okay, this deck, its creation, this is the kind of thing that's like a life's work. If that makes any sense. Which I'm sure that it does. These are the card backs. Okay. Alright. Before I start flipping, I want to show. They're all lined up at the bottom here. And the top is like this. Now, they're all like that. I've got a little paper in here. So basically, these cards are hand cut. It says here, stock of cards show a slight size inconsistency along the top edge of the deck. We took the decision not to have the top edge of the card skimmed as we did not want the curve of the corners to be flattened as far as we can be sure. This batch of decks has excellent printing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so these are made in a very local to where? North of England? I don't know. I'm not reading all that right now. But the point is, all of these decks, I believe, are not... They're not cut straight across the top. And I've seen people mention this. That's the nature of something that's made this way, ultimately. It makes shuffling difficult, but, like, really, shuffling is impossible for me already anyway, because this card size is just out of control. Okay, so let's just start flipping through them, and I will talk a little bit about, I don't know, all of the stuff. Actually, I'm going to bring us down here a little closer. Okay. All right. This deck it's an oracle, but it is organized. So I actually don't remember what they're all called. I tend to ignore a lot of the organization of this deck. Now that's... You're going to understand why when I start explaining what I even remember of it. There are almost like suits. And I don't remember what they're called. Clans, maybe. And they're named differently, and they sort of mean different things. There's 3 different, like, classifications. So there's, Weavers of the North, South, East, and West. There's, like, the Bone Clan. There's the Weavers Clan? Oh my god, I don't even remember. Wow. I literally looked at the guidebook just yesterday so that I could, like, know all of this shit. So, this deck is a lot. I'm not gonna lie. The classifications, at first, I was kind of trying to, look up and kind of help glean meanings from that. It actually, for me personally, made it a mess. Like, it was actually confusing me. So yeah, I will get into the guidebook and explain that in, like, a reasonable detail in a minute here. But these cards, okay, the thing that initially drew me to this deck was just the idea of, like, crone phase. I mean, I'm 36 years old. I have 3 kids. Um, I guess if we're doing, maiden mother crone stage kind of shit, I am in the mother stage. But I'm really excited for like the crone phase of my life. I want to be the best crone that I can be. So I'm like trying to prepare. I don't want to sound, you know, you know what I'm saying, okay? I suspect you probably already know what I'm trying to explain. But this just felt very, very crone energy focused. And at the time when I had first seen this deck, I'm like, damn, I feel like I want this. I was not really aware of all of the other stuff that comes like with this deck. Because this deck, it is a huge project. Now, I believe these are all actually life-size paintings. And the most interesting part of this, though, an interesting part of this deck is that every item that the women are shown having. So, like, this thing hanging here on the belt. Any of these things are actually things that this creator made in real life as well to like give power to the painting of it. Like it is amazing. Ultimately, that is the width and breadth of it, is that this was such a huge undertaking. And sometimes I kind of feel like a dickhead for not really taking in all that went into this deck, but also like there are times where I feel like doing a bunch of shit, and then there's also times where it feels overwhelming. I think ultimately it just has a lot to do with what's going on in my life personally, how much I'm wanting to dig into this. Okay, so I don't know if you've noticed. All right, I think the last card may have started it. Nope, this is the first one. Okay, here we have a word, Udagon? I don't even know how you say that. I have tried to look that word up, and I can only find it Googling it in connection with this deck specifically. So I actually don't know what this word means. If you know, then please tell me, because I have searched far and wide to try and find what in fuck that means. I think it means like a teacher or something, maybe. I don't know. Keeper of knowledge or something. The black backgrounds in these paintings are fucking just stunning. Is this the card backs? Nope. Okay. Now these textiles here in the Weavers, I believe, are actually made as well. One thing, okay, I do want to mention about this deck is it uses, I don't know actually what year this deck was made. But it does lean on, like, biological assigned female at birth kind of shit, right? It's maiden mother crone stuff. Oh my god, what is that? Personally, I don't appreciate really being reduced to like my stage of fertility in my life. Like that's just overall that's an issue that I take with that. I will say this does mention it, but it doesn't rely on it so much that you can't ignore it, if that makes sense. Wow, I love how I just didn't say there was any nudity in this deck and just just went. Alright, ending on the Hollowing Woman. Okay, so, as beautiful as these cards are, there are things that I have to share about the guidebook, because a lot of decks, the main thing of the deck is the deck. This, really more so than the actual cards, the guidebook is the ultimate thing for this. I'm gonna have to move this camera out a bit here. Okay. Here is the book. Now, we've got some explanations, the weaving house, some cards you can draw. Okay, so what I'm trying to find, all right, we've got clans and tribes. Okay, for like some of this is kind of set up weird. Like these are the strand, the cord, the bundle. Those are readings you can do, I guess. Okay, so our clans are guardians. The Earth Clan, Blood Clan, Life, Loom, Death. Okay, and then we've got the Weavers, East, South, West, North. We've got, like, charts and shit of this. Okay, so now we're into the actual card meanings. Now, the card meanings are more like a myth, okay? It doesn't tell you what the card means. It's more like each of the characters put on these cards. Let's draw one. Each of the characters depicted on these cards is a character. Now, according to the deck creator, she traveled far and wide and sort of felt their, like, spirits, their presence, throughout England, I believe. Sorry. Shit at shuffling like this. I'm not good at it at all. Yeah. So, these have almost been channeled, and it's kind of, the guidebook is like a myth, sort of. Oh my god. Alright, dear, then we'll do the Dreamer of the Wildwoods. This was my card for the last moon cycle, so maybe still got something to tell me. Alright, so we'll look here. She is number 14. Okay, so we start off and we have, oh my god, our information, okay? So she's of the Blood Clan and the East Weavers. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't fuck with that, okay? I just leave that. That is not my problem. And, like, I probably should, but I don't. Okay, we've got Dreamer of the Wildwoods. She embodies the greening of life. Now, here we've got Dreamer of the Wildwoods. This second name is kind of only in the guidebook. Alright, so, I'll just read this. Hopefully I don't get in trouble. Alright, her yarn. This fairy-led story always begins with words of caution. Be wary of lovers who come from the greenwood. Take heed of sweet bells. The young people would laugh. The older ones would roll their eyes secretly, warily. The tale dreamer smoothed out her tail and stepped into the wildwood. A creature lived there. She was not entirely woman in form, but neither was she lynx nor otter, although she prowled like one and slipped fast away like the other. Mostly, she leapt through the green shadows like a deer. She often ran close to the trails, skirting the woods, and might be glimpsed naked, half-hidden, a strange wisp of untamed elements. Her watery skin seemed tinted like leaves, but that color came from the coiled mass of markings that had weathered all over her body with time. There were some travelers who had seen her dance, but not many, and their recounting of this was compelling but vague. How she had danced in that glade, a whirl of fine footsteps, an unfettered shimmer, a silver bright glitter. They were charmed indeed, those fortunate wayfarers, drawn in and held fast, caught in the rise and the blend of her dance, until she dissolved back into the wildwood tangle. The tale dreamer would sigh, wish not for a greenwood dancer to stay. She emerged from a beginning far more ancient than people, and she came to the forest right from the start, when it was dark and primordial and inhabited by raw energy alone. She danced through the endless winter until it remembered the rhythms of the land and released something new from beneath its chill hand. She danced to the east for the seed in its budding. Then she danced for the growing and greening of life. Then she leapt for the moon like a deer on the mountain. She danced the quick motion of water and wind. Her thin fingers wove the new spring into wildwoods, which lightened and blossomed and formed dapple's shade. She watched the arrival of heron track runners. She heard the beat of the first drums they played to the land. She ran with the deer that gave food to the people and danced their returning as newly born young. Then, after eons of waiting and epochs of watching, she danced at last into the human dream. The tale dreamer was nearly done. Time is no more than a glimmer inside the wildwood. A dance led by a greening never reaches the end. And those gathered beside the winter fire would sigh and sink into the long silence that always clung to the tale of a good story. Raw magic crackled around the edges of the hearth. Close by, in the wildwood, a deer raised her head. She watched a quick shadow that was dancing and whirling across the damp earth. Okay, if that reading was not too terrible, do you see how this actually... It's like you have to analyze the story to see what this card could even be saying to you. Okay, you don't open this guidebook up and find a straight up answer of what this card means. Okay, so I think that confuses a lot of people. I mean, if I drew, okay, there actually is more. I don't want to get in trouble for reading too much of this. Will I get in trouble if I read this whole thing? You know what? I'm just going to do it because I feel like it gives a better picture. Okay, so it's called Her Yarn. This is sort of the story, right? This picks it apart a little bit. So the braid and the cloth, they're explained somewhere else better in the guidebook, but all right. When herons fly to the east, ancestor women have traditionally looked to the planting and care of their girl seeds. What the fuck? Sharing ceremonies that celebrate small daughters and new life. They make a place inside their wombs for all manner of beginnings and potential. Their girl seeds are born from the softest rhythms of life, at the center of a promise those women have made to the earth and inside the wildest expressions of their love. They eagerly welcome the girl seeds for whom they will be good guardians. They also quietly honor the memories of girlhood cradled inside their own souls. Later, the ancestor women weave spring initiations for all those growing girls, marking the passage from seed to barefoot runner, which they call the greening. The ceremony catches something of the budding life that is bounding through nature's birthing grounds, all over the hills and moors and forests. At these times, the ancestor women also celebrate the greening of life that is manifested through ideas, visions, and projects, the girl seeds and their splendid creative imaginations. The Wildwood Dream is referenced widely in myth, poem, folktale, mystic painting, and lover's prayer. It is the wayward child that dances within the minds of all who skirt the edges of life's forests, and the soft-footed deer that slips stealthily across the nighttime landscape. Without the dream of Wildwood coiling beneath her skin, the traveler would forget the beauty of tangled, unpredictable, and uncontrollable realities. Now, the final... Okay. Okay, I don't know how to explain that. All right, the cloth. We are filled by you, the greening women say to us as they wait for our ripening. When you are born to the one, they whisper to us, you are born to the many. They remind us that in the lap of one wildwood mother, we are held by them all. Do you feel our protection? They ask us. Do you hear our blessing? They form a long coil of dancers who roll softly around us, spiraling through mirrors and circling time. We remember that at the breast of one wildwood mother we are fed by them all. Come into our dream, they say to us. This dream is now yours. So we leave the warm fields where our seeds were first sown and follow the greening woman into the wild, where we travel through restless and reckless and quick shifting years. But still those strange mothers speak into our ears. You are the life and the rhythm of all that we feel. You are the promise of grace newly born. But we have been walking with uncertainty on precarious paths, and we are not sure how to be strong enough, brave enough, wise enough, and we have been lost in our wildwood adventures for years. Still, the greening women follow our steps close behind, and these are the words that they sing to us. You are the mystery of love in its raw poetry. You are our mirror, and we are your door. Then fear flees from our hearts when we look in their eyes, for those greening mothers trust in our courage and unfettered souls. They reach for our hands as we turn back to the wild, then we too are dancing through mirrors, encircling time. So, if I knew a better way to explain the way that this guidebook explains these cards, I would not have done all that, okay? Sorry, that was a huge fucked up reading of all that stuff. But this is a very expensive deck. It is, okay, I have it written down here. All right, so it's 41 pounds sterling. That's about 61 US dollars. Shipping outside of the UK is about 25 US dollars. I mean, so if you're in the United States, by the time you get this deck, you're already, what, $86 in. Not including, taxes or whatever stuff. And don't want people to end up getting this deck and feeling like they weren't ready or they weren't fully informed on what the deck actually was. Because when I got this kind of guidebook, I was so fucking excited. Like, hell yes. This is what I want from a deck, right? There's so many ways to interpret that, all of that bullshit that I read. You know what I mean? It's returning to wild natures. I really like the part of being born to one is being born to many. It's so much. There's so many like little threads that you could pull out of that, to be the card meaning. And for this reason, the way that I use this deck, which I have talked about on this channel before, but I will mention again, when I first had this idea, I actually started pulling one card at each new moon and then one card at each full moon. And what I would do, well, you know what, I think my thing's right here. I'll just show you this right quick. Since this is already fucking really long, might as well just do it all. Okay, perfect. Here we are. So, 8 Lake Songi of the Moon Woman is who I drew on the last new moon. So what I do is I read through this big-ass guidebook meaning, and I go through and I write down little parts of it, a sentence or something, that I feel relates, if that makes any sense. Okay, so what I have here is, as the moondog surfaced, she flung her body forward and leaped upon its back. They rode together, way across the black sky, surfing... Oh my god, my writing. Surfing on the moontide, flying on a crest of a rolling wave of energy and light. She felt the swell of oceans, and she felt the pull of earth, and she felt the sap that flowed inside each woman, tree, and wolf. I skipped some here, and then she swept her hut floor, filled water vessels, patted out the flatbread, and planted seeds around her compound. And this was her magic. So this card, to me, in its entirety of all the shit that I read about it, is simple magic, right? The second name was She Trusts in Simple Magic. And so this card is sort of talking about the big majestic things, you know, feeling the tree sap flowing and fucking flying into the sky, like surfing on the moontide and whatnot. But ultimately the real magic was when she got back down to her hut and started just, you know, doing the regular things that she normally does on a day-to-day basis, right? Beyond the cosmic mysteries of the night, the morning light returns the traveler to a world that is human-sized, freshly bright, and openly revealed. The simplest magic embraces the humble tasks of the day and unwraps profound meaning from the small essential details of domestic life. So I wrote all this down. I prepare this other page, and I leave it until I'm about to draw the next one. Then I will go in and write, you know, how I felt like I saw this card show up for that time period. Some of this has worked out better and it's worked out worse, different times. So yeah, I used to do full moon and new moons. I have actually backed it down to just new moons because I felt like 2 weeks still was not enough time, with one card and all of the things that it could mean. So I don't know if all that shit even made sense to you, okay? All right, so I'm busting out the book again here because we gotta talk about some other shit. All right, let's get to the back of this. All right, so back here in the back, we have more charts. Okay, now it talks about Oracle songs. Now, if you were to order this deck, it comes from Seventh Wave Music. Now, I will put links to everything in the description box below. Now, this is not like just a deck, okay? The deck is one part of all of this shit. So there are, where's an example? This is ultimately a music shop, okay? So here, this was actually one of the cards from the deck. So in some of the actual like card meanings in the book, it uses some of the lyrics from these songs. because apparently some of the songs were written for the cards created for the songs, or I don't know the order, and I don't really ultimately know if it matters, which came first. But the point is, there are songs for these, okay? This is, like I said, this is a life's work. I think this has the potential to be even more powerful than even how I'm using it. And ultimately, I think this deck is, like, overpowered for literally anything I could ever ask of it. Like, I don't ever have anything that important to ask this deck. Okay, so we've got the songs, we've got other shit. Some of these are, like, the entire, lyrics to the songs, or the drums. Now there is also, I will tell you, a workshop. If I can find the link to it, I will stick that down in, the description box too. So the thing with that, from what I can gather, is, like, almost like help with the deck, maybe? Or maybe it makes it feel even larger and more confusing. I actually don't know. Now, this is the 13-month workshop, and it is about 800 pounds, or that is over $1,000 US. It comes with, pre-recorded, I don't even know, stuff. So, personally, I would never do that, and I'm just gonna say, you can also do monthly payments that work out to being like $80 US a month, for access to this content. So you can do, like, monthly. I would never do something like that with a deck. Like, that's just not my thing. Ultimately, my interpretation of what was put in the guidebook that's what I'm looking for, if that makes sense. I'm not necessarily looking for overt explanation. It's kind of one of those things where, once you let something out into the world, it does come up for interpretation, by people in the different ways that they approach things or their own different experiences. While I think this deck was very powerfully made, and I think that just the way that the guidebook was written, just the room for interpretation, I think scares some people and makes other people feel like that's the place to be. Like, I am not a person that is scared of this. I love this shit. But the guidance, I mean, if you have that kind of money and time, then go for it. I mean, I do kind of feel like if people really had a lot of questions about, card meanings and things, probably, we could ask each other here for a lot less money than that. Yeah, so holy shit. This has been almost half an hour now. Hopefully I've explained this deck and presented this deck in a way that you sort of have an understanding of it. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm gonna watch this back. I always watch my videos back before I post them, so any absolutely batshit things that happen, in my videos, I have already seen and decided I was probably fine. Maybe all this shit that I've said doesn't even make sense. I don't know. But it is a weird deck, man. It's a weird deck. It's one of those decks that you're not going to find another one like this. I really don't think so. I've seen people act like the Compendium of Witches is similar. Oh, it is not even close. There is nothing. I don't even know why people would say that. The artwork is different. The ideas and intention is different. Like, it's a whole different thing. So if you've seen people saying that, no. I fucking love this card. So, hopefully that was helpful to somebody? I don't know, man. Let me know if this was helpful or not. If you have questions, let me know in the comments if you have a burning question. Always, any of my deck reviews, if you're like, okay, well, did you notice this, or what'd you think of this, or whatever, ask me, okay? But this deck especially, I wrote down some notes, but, like, I don't even know if my notes were sufficient for explaining this whole, like, web of stuff. So, the Weaver's Oracle. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.